Very excited on this edition of Words, Images, and Worlds to be talking with the one, the only Jeremy Massie. Jeremy, thank you for jumping in, joining, talking with me for a few minutes.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. The first of your works that I ever discovered was Holler. And so I know
Okay.
that we're going to talk a little bit about that. I've actually mentioned Holler in some of the work that I've done around like comics and place and things like that. You also
Nice.
have All My Ghosts out now.
Yeah.
You contributed to an anthology about the Willie Nelson who shall inherit the earth, I believe.
I
Uh,
think so, yeah. He's the
yeah,
last of the highwaymen, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
And The Deadbeat as well. So you
Right.
have a nice collection of work that's out there already.
Yeah. There's a few things. Yeah, that's me. The Deadbeat I wish was still in print. It's kind of hard to find, but yeah, that was the
Yeah.
first thing I did. And Holler just recently came out September, so the end of September. So um trying to get people to read that.
Yeah.
As many
Now I
people as
read that I guess in an earlier edition online years ago.
Right, right,
So
yeah. It's taken me a while. I started it, I wanna say God, I wanna say it was like 4 years, a 4-year long. I think it was actually. It took me like 4 years to finish it. I've wanted to do that story though since I was like 20 years old, so,
yeah.
it was kind of a long time coming as far as getting it finished, so I'm excited that it exists, and, so yeah, it was a long haul because there's no one else involved. It was all me doing the whole thing, so
Wow.
it was a lot of work, you know,
Yeah.
a
And
lot of
you're
work.
also an educator, so we know that educators have
Well,
all this extra
yeah.
time on their hands.
I'm an art teacher, so that's I picked an educator. That's cool. I like that, but like I picked a fun, kind of low key kind of educator position.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
quite as bad as uh, your algebra teachers and your people that have to be held accountable for a lot of things. So, but yeah, I do love my job, both of them.
Definitely educator.
Yeah,
Definitely an educator for sure.
yeah,
Well, I tend to ask kind of the origin story. So, how did you decide comics was the place where you wanted to share stories?
right. Drawing, I always drew. I was always in the back of the room drawing instead of doing my schoolwork.
Hmm. Hmm.
I liked. I'm not a. I wouldn't call myself an introvert at all, but I do enjoy kind of being by myself and drawing, and that to me is like the most therapeutic thing in the world. So it's something that I've always done, and I've always enjoyed. I always read books as well as comics, and I just along the way where those were both things I was very interested in, I just started um, doing my own comic stories, just to kind of pass the time, and I've just done it ever since. Like probably started when I was like maybe 8 9 years old. I remember like being like 10 and 11 years old and like selling my superhero books to kids on the playground and stuff. Um, things like that. So I was even kind of as a young kid, kind of making comics and trying to share it with people. Um, so yeah, I mean, it's something that I've always loved. Grew up with the superhero stuff and just kind of loved drawing all that stuff, and then kind of gradually just it's just a habit at this point. It's like this deeply ingrained thing that I just do, and it's just part of getting by at this point.
Yeah.
So it's just yeah, something I've always done. And I think that the type of stories that I do, a lot of them are based on like real life, like a lot of things that I've either witnessed or seen and gone through. And I think that the formal aspects of comics really lend themselves really well to telling stories from like everyday, they're from real life, because I think that um, the comics work a lot like how your memory works.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
a lot of the stuff that I do kind of lends itself pretty well to the medium, I guess. So you
That's
know,
an awesome quote. I just finished a chapter a few months back about comics and memory, so I wish we talked before I did
yeah,
that. But
it does it does it is strange when you start to think about it. But yeah, the comics and and memory, or the way that I remember things anyway, it's similar. So they
Yeah.
lend themselves pretty well to each other, that this type of story that I do anyway. So, but
That's cool. And to think about like they're in panels, so you get those little breaks where like something else happened and you can kind of
right.
fill it in. Yeah, well, I like
You
that.
remember when you remember things, you remember the major stuff. And
Hmm.
then, if you're telling someone else what happened, you fill in basically you fill in the gutters,
Yeah,
you know, and you keep the stuff inside the panels in your brain, and then, but yeah, they work pretty similar. So,
that's cool. That's cool. I'm glad to hear that come from you as well as a creator. And I am curious about the process. Is there a particular set of tools that you enjoy using, a particular part of the process that you have kind of a knack for?
I don't really think I have a knack for any of it,
I
it's
enjoy
all
your
hard to do.
question.
It's all very hard to do. Like, I think a lot of things come more naturally to a lot of people, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like I'm always when I'm drawing, I'm trying to get. I'm always trying to get a little better. But as far as the process goes, and what I use in things, when I'm writing, I don't do scripts or anything like that. I usually go straight to just laying it out and doing thumbnails,
Mhm,
and kind of figure out the rhythm, and if there's something major that someone says that'll shift the story, we'll kind of have an indication of that while I'm thumbnailing, and then I just sort of refine from that. So literally, it starts out off like on notebook paper with like stick figures, having conversations,
mhm,
and kind of gradually, I build it up. I used to swear up and down that I would never draw digitally, but once I got into it and realized all the things I really, really think are a headache, you
mhm,
can do pretty easily um, with a lot of the tools that are available as far as drawing digitally. I changed my mind pretty quick. That and the fact that you can't really, I, I can't really tell a difference between when I'm drawing as far as what my work looks like, as far as drawing digitally and drawing traditionally at this
mhm,
point. The technology's kind of caught up, and if you know what you're doing, you can kind of get it out of your brain the way you kind of did, in an analog process. So I started with thumbnails. I kind of build it up from there, and then I draw. I sit and draw on my iPad because um, I can take it anywhere, you know. So I'll do a lot of drawing everywhere. So I used to have, my big desk that's slanted,
mhm.
um, in my room, but now I don't even have that anymore. I'm a I'm rambling. I ramble a lot. I'm rambling
No,
along
you were
places.
good.
So yeah, but that's kind of the way I do it. And as far as working digitally, like I said, a lot of the things like I can't stand to draw, like perspective and all the hard stuff. There
Mhm.
are really, really simple ways you can, um, you know, get that taken care of digitally. So it's something I've adopted with Holler, the last book I did. Actually, it was the first mm, maybe 20 to 30 pages were done traditionally, and
Mhm.
then from then on it was all digital. So, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah,
So that's kind of my process.
cool. As far as the inspiration for um, Holler and kind of the process of how that came together, I'm curious. I know that it's a story of memory. It's a story of growing
Right.
up, and lots of connection threads between the two of us. I think because I grew up in Appalachia
Oh, okay.
in the late '80s and through the '90s, and I remember like the influence of like religion and trying to navigate all of those kind of
Right.
things. So curious about the inspiration point for you.
Yeah, like the little town in the Appalachian Mountains up in Virginia is where I'm from, and you can't throw a rock without hitting a church there.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was part of growing up. It was um, that and when I was growing up, I was in a lot of garage bands, go nowhere garage bands, and I've always thought that experience, like if you've ever been through that, like it's a shared thing. You know that how ridiculous it is, and going to play a show in somebody's basement, and there's no, you have to pee outside, and all the weird stuff that happens when you're when you're in a band. There's no bathrooms, or
Mhm, mhm,
you're driving to who knows where, the fist fights and the fighting in between the bandmates. And I haven't seen that a lot. I've seen like a lot of like movies and stuff about bands and stuff, but it would always be like a rise to fame of some band that was famous, like the Doors or Queen or something. But I've never seen like, you know, my experience with playing music and stuff and being in bands was a little less glamorous. So I wanted to kind of show that because it's funny. It's funny stuff. It's like, you start playing music just as a laugh and to have fun for the most part, and it ends up just being, you just end up having dumb fun adventures and a lot of stupid stories. And I think a lot of us share that, like people that have bought Hall or that have been in bands and stuff, like some of the stuff they tell me, I'm just like, yep, we've all kind of been through that. We have this like shared experience, I think, being in a go nowhere garage band. So it's cool to have that connection. And it makes me feel like I kind of got it right,
mhm.
when people talk to me about it. So that feels pretty good, you know. So
You have the musical connection there with the Willie Nelson anthology, but then a
right.
lot of your work has to do with like people that are sort of scratching their existence, trying to make their way through things that happen through life. I mean, even the Deadbeat, this story that could be kind of your traditional superhero kind of thing, is more of a down on your luck kind of approach. So,
Yeah.
there's some definite through lines there that I think people can resonate with.
I think when I did the Deadbeat, I legit was trying to do a straight superhero story, and I just screwed it up completely, and just it ended up being like the other stuff that I ended up doing, which is just, yeah, about people in there just trying to get by. And that to me is more interesting than anything else in the world. I think that we all share that, no matter who you are, no matter how well off you are, no
Mhm.
matter how good you're doing in life, it's still a pain in the ass. A lot, we have a lot of shared pains in the ass together as humanity. We have, that's, quote me on that, I guess, shared pains in the ass. But anyway,
That's a book title right there.
yeah, I might keep that. I need to write that in my little book, my little idea book.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is a lot of a lot of the stuff that I do does, even if it's a different genre or if it's whatever, it still kind of does feel like I did it. I am kind of proud of that. So
Yeah.
it's nice that somebody noticed
Mhm,
that.
mhm. Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. As a teacher, do you ever get the question, "Are you famous?"
Yeah, and then they'll go like Google you sometimes, and then
Mhm.
the only thing I've ever worried about is like maybe like a parent taking it the wrong way, but I
Oh,
haven't done anything that's like disgustingly offensive or anything like that.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
like in my 20s, all the stuff that could have got me, in trouble, like as far as my work goes, like I left that all in the mini comics rotten somewhere, so it's pre-digital, it wasn't online. So
Yeah.
um, I'm kidding, but I have I do I have gotten that question, like, and they all want to know if I've done Spider-Man or something like that. And I'm like, nah, I haven't done Spider-Man or anything. And then I tell them what my work, or kind of what my comics are about, and they just kind of are like, huh, you know. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, there's a couple of kids that have kind of gotten a little older because I teach fifth and sixth grade.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
there's a couple of kids that kind of got a little older, I think, and looked into some of the stuff I've done. And there's a couple of kids that are interested in art still, that kind of keep up with me, that it still kind of interests them, and they've read it. But nobody's come to my house with like torches and pitchforks or anything, wanting my job or anything. So that's good.
That's always good. It's
It
always good.
is.
Yeah. You can save the scandalous stories for retirement.
Right, right. I'll do that. I got plenty. So, but
Yeah. Well, You mentioned that holler is kind of this long-standing process that you spent a good bit of time on it.
Mhm.
Any advice or ideas for creators out there who are sort of chipping away, moving through their creative process?
Overthinking it is what killed me. That's why I can never do it for years. Like, um, I was trying to like wrap it up in like a 3 act structure, you
Hmm.
know, and you don't have to do that with comics. It's, um, what cracked it for me is there was a magazine needed a like a 5 pager. They had like a themed issue, a music themed issue,
Hmm.
and I just had been like writing down some things I wanted to be in this book that it would eventually be Holler, and I had just like tons and tons of like things that I wanted to get in there from my youth and from when I was growing up, but I couldn't find some kind of like way to get it all in there in a satisfying way. And because I was thinking in terms of like a 3 act structure, like a film,
Yeah.
kind of. And what cracked it for me was doing just a short story. Kind of, I kind of plucked the story from like my notes that I was going to be in Holler, and I just did like a 5 pager. And when I did that, I started to think about comics I read from, because the Holler set in the 90s, back in the
Hmm.
90s. So I was thinking of a lot of the comics that I love from back then and how they, you look at it like Eight Ball, like Love and Rockets, and like Hate and all that stuff, and the way that each issue would kind of be its own thing.
Hmm.
You could pick up, Hate number whatever and not have to read the like, 4 before it or
Hmm.
something like
Hmm.
that to kind of get what's in the like fifth issue. And still, but if you did wind up reading all of it, it's kind of like a satisfying thing as a whole. But it's more like there's a lot of like shorter stories and things in those. They're almost like one person anthologies, all those old 90s indie books.
Hmm.
And so remembering those, and I was just kind of like, I could just do all these stories. I could just kind of do them and just kind of have more of a loose kind of thing fitting them together where it's just like, the last 2 years of high school, and then not worry about having some kind of like big grand, you know, thing, like 3 act structure thing that tied everything together. And life really isn't like that anyway. And so I think that
True.
kind of helped. It kind of helped being like, this happened, just kind of changing the format, and that kind of cracked it open for me as far as. But yeah, I overthought it for years, and when I actually sat down and started doing the things, I'm like, this is just the simplest answer ever.
Mhm.
Literally, just sit down and do the damn thing.
Right, right.
I just was overthinking it because it was. I think I too was overthinking it because it seemed like I really, really wanted to do it. It's for some. It was very important to me. I wanted it to be like really, really good, and I just balked so many times and got afraid to do it. But yeah, I think overthinking anything is a bad idea, especially when you're telling a story, because a lot of times you'll get an idea for a story and you don't know why you want to tell that story. There's just something in there, and there's something subconscious that you're realizing either about, you really don't know, but there's something, poking at you and kind of pushing and prodding you. And usually those are the stories that you end up doing. And because you work a long time on comics, it's a long process.
Mhm.
So if you're going to do one, you have to, you better believe in the damn thing.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like usually you have an idea for a story and there's something about it. You don't know what it is. And along the way, when you're doing it, it starts clicking and you're like, that's why this thing was irking. And that's why this thing was getting under my skin and why I have to do this. And you figure it out usually midway or something, That's always a cool you just need to you have to trust that. And sometimes that's scary, because what if I'm wrong and I'm doing this story, but it was a bad idea?
Mhm,
Something like
mhm,
that. But
mhm.
usually when if you've done enough comics, you kind of know when something's brewing right, I guess. Is the way to
Yeah.
put it. You know? But
Yeah,
yeah,
you know the smell of something that's cooking the right way
yeah,
for sure.
right, right, exactly. So, you know,
Cool, very cool. Yeah. Well, I know that your work is on places like Amazon, and I know that, and I know you have some social media connection out there. Are there particular places that you would want people to go to check out your work, to find out more, and
yeah.
to follow up?
Instagram is I post on that more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't really fool with formerly was it with X a lot or Twitter
Hmm.
anymore. Facebook is more like my family stuff. So yeah, the art stuff is all I'm on Instagram a lot, and it's Massey Makes Comics on Instagram. And also I have a website too that's masseymakescomics.com. That's actually where Holler was up on there for quite a while
Hmm.
as I was doing it, and I'm gonna start. I'm doing a story called "I'm Okay, How Are You?" That's kind of that I've been working on, and it's gonna start. I'm gonna start putting it on the website probably, or not probably. I'm gonna put it on there December 4th because I've got a lot of it done. Um, so um, that's gonna be shorter than Holler, and it's gonna be in black and white
Hmm.
because I just feel like I worked on Holler for such a long time. I just really want to like do something fast, like
Yeah.
really fast, and just do something fast and different, and not quite as long, and a
Yeah.
little more. Just I don't know, just trim a little bit and make it a little shorter work, and just kind of get something else out there too. Um,
Yeah.
and a different genre, a genre that I'm hoping what'll happen with the Deadbeat will happen with this because I'm doing it's a science fiction thing. I'm hoping that in my heart of hearts and my best intentions, I'm going to have this like completely hard sci-fi thing like Arthur C. Clarke or something, but it won't be
Mhm.
that way. I'll completely screw it up about page 10 and it'll just go off and be what I normally do. But you know, my intention is this really serious sci-fi thing, which who am I kidding? But
Yeah, you'll
it's
you'll
it's
sprinkle your
fun.
own things in, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's already gotten out of my control as far as what it's about anyway. Because I laid the whole thing out, or I did all my thumbnails. It's about it's 100 pages, 102 pages, the thumbnails. So it'll probably be a few more than that when it's all said and done. But um, yeah, it got out of my control pretty quick as far as what I thought it was going to be, and then I realized kind of what it was and my connection to it. So I'm interested to see what people think of it because it's a little different from what I normally do. So we'll see.
Looking forward to that. And the black and white page in comics, I feel like that's like its own vibe, its own thing. I feel like that
Yeah,
just it
I,
creates an impression for sure.
I feel like I feel like I would like miss it. I too another thing too is I've been reading a lot of manga and I
Mm.
just um I like the look of it and the just the it's almost like just the textures and things they use in black and white, where they've got their process all down. But I think that was another reason I was like I want to do black and white because I've been reading a lot of manga for some reason because all the kids at school read it is why. And
Oh,
yeah, so um, I read it growing up, but not like now. Geez, it's so readily available, and there's so much of it, and a lot of good stuff. So um, I think that's kind of why I was doing it. I was coloring the new pages, and I'm like, I just want to do this black and white, and it feels right. So you know, hopefully, no one will get mad at me, but
Hopefully not. Hopefully not.
yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing your take on that story. And I'm glad to connect with you. Have we missed anything that you want to make sure to mention before we close out?
I don't think so. I've got a signing at Soundwave Comics in Somerville, South Carolina on December the 12th, I think.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be there signing Holler and hanging out. That's about all I have going on other than the new story coming out December 4th. I'm going to update. I should be able to update it. I do Wednesday and Sunday because that seems like a comic book day.
Yeah.
New comic books on Wednesday and then the Sunday funnies.
Hmm.
So I usually update those 2 days. So hopefully 2 pages a week get done in a timely fashion. But we'll see.
Sounds good.
Hopefully life doesn't get at me. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I've got going on. Holler, and I'm okay. How are you? Coming up soon. So that's all I
Sounds
have.
great. Sounds great. That is enough to keep a busy person busy.
Yeah, I'm gonna go draw a little bit right now. Actually, I've got. I always leave like. I never like finish a page and walk away. I
Yeah.
always like make sure I'm in the middle of one. Just because that just helps me with my laziness. So
That is good advice in and of
yeah,
itself. Leave something undone that you have to come
yep,
back to.
yep. I
I
find
like
it
that.
hard to sit down at a white screen or white page with nothing. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Yeah. Well, in that case, maybe I should like start a question so that you'll come back on at some point and we can talk
yeah,
about the new book. So maybe
give
can
me
you tell
something to
us,
think about. Yeah,
yeah, just tell us a little bit about, there we go.
there we
Okay. So
go.
now we have to come back and fill that in.
I will gladly do it. I really appreciate speaking with you.